eat veal and I don't do bacon. I'm feeling the feel, I ain't stealing, I'm taking. I got a non-dairy creamer in my jeans. I'm happy to see you, if you know what I mean. Let's get it on.
Hello out there and welcome to another edition of Vegan Freak Radio. I'm Bob.
And I'm Jenna.
And we're here this week to talk to you about all kinds of vegan goodness, all kinds of vegan things going on. We're going to begin the show with a quick shout out to a couple vegetarian and vegan podcasts out there that we know about. And then after that, we're going to give another shout out to some of my family who've been listening to the podcast and complaining about F words.
And then we're going to talk about the fact that fish is not a vegetable, despite what some vegetarians might say.
Yes, fish indeed is not a vegetable. After that, we'll have a quick little musical interlude, and then we're going to talk about our meditations on vegan spirituality.
And then we'll have some clips that we promised last week. We mentioned from our Vulgar Vegan, we picked the less vegan, the less vulgar of the snippets from our podcast that we did when he visited.
Yeah, they weren't too bad. You get a couple little samplings of what's going on there. And then we're just going to close the show out with a couple of quick parting thoughts and call it quits there. So that's where we're going to head today, and that's what we're going to dig into. So to begin, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of the podcasts out there. Vegcast.com is a new podcast, a relatively new podcast. We're relatively new too, right? So
yeah, we've only had a couple shows.
Yeah. So from one new podcast to another, here's a quick little bump for Vegcast.com. Go listen. Very catchy opening tune indeed.
Yep, and he's from Philly.
He's one of my Philly homies.
Exactly, so
I'm cool with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I've been listening to, today when I was outside cutting the grass, I was listening to animalvoices.ca, and they're more of a radio show than a podcast, but they have a podcast of their radio show, and I like the show a lot because they actually come from an animal liberation perspective towards some very complicated issues in the movement and in veganism as well.
Mm-hmm. They do a lot of good interviews. We listened to one of Dr. Greger the other day. It was really good.
Mm-hmm. And we also want to quickly say hi to An Animal Friendly Life, which is basically animalfriendlylife.com. Say hi to Eric over there. Some interesting things going back and forth between two Erics. Eric at vegan.com, which is Eric Marcus, and Eric at Animal Friendly Life, kind of having this audio back and forth on both of their podcasts, which is really great and fun to listen to. And of course, vegan.com has been going forever, right?
Yeah, it's one of the original vegan podcasts. So,
yeah. And I enjoy vegan.com. Eric Marcus has that down very well, and he's got the show together, and he has interviews and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. And finally, we also just want to say hi to Cosmos Vegan Shop, to Ken and Lee from Cosmos Vegan Shop. We got a very nice little bump from Ken and Lee on their webpage. You should go look at Cosmos Vegan Shop. No, we're not getting paid to say this, but they have a very nice assortment of products.
They do. They're starting out, and they're a little small yet, but they have quite a few things already and some good stuff. So.
You think they're small?
Compared to like Vegan Essentials, which is one of the bigger ones, but I think we've been supporting all of them because they all have a different assortment of things and they'll get good stuff.
Yeah, they have a really good assortment of stuff on. It looks like body care and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they sell a lot of the Queen Bee pleather bags and wallets, and they have a lot of good things like that. So.
I just ordered a wallet today.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, hi Ken and Lee. How you doing? Hope everything's going well for you. All right. Anyway, that sounded cheesy as hell. I also quickly want to say hi to my Aunt Linda, Tia Linda, who's out there listening. I heard from my mom on the phone today that my Aunt Linda sent my mom an email saying that she heard us on the internet and that we used too many F words.
We didn't have that many F-bombs.
No, we didn't drop too many.
Compared to what we normally sound like, there were very few in the last podcast.
Very few, as I recall. Or even in the first one, there weren't that many.
No, but that's why we have an explicit rating on the iTunes store. So that's
right. If you go there, we have a parental advisory, thanks to Tipper Gore.
Yeah, exactly.
But I didn't think we were all that dirty. But anyway, fuck it. It's just the way it is. You don't like it, don't listen. But anyway.
But it was very nice of your Aunt Linda to listen.
It was indeed. I'm just being mean. It was nice of her to listen, and there are plenty of F words in our book. Not plenty, a few.
A few.
Okay. Yeah. We're not gratuitous about it.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So moving on there. Hi Aunt Linda. Bye Aunt Linda. I just want to talk quickly about fish not being a vegetable.
Yes, we make a point of talking about this a lot in our book because it's one of our pet peeves.
There's actually an index entry. Fish, is not a vegetable.
Right.
And it is one of our pet peeves.
And we've met people who have asked us, so you're vegan, and talking about that. And before, when we were vegetarians, a lot of people would come up and ask us, so do you eat fish? I'm like, well, no, because fish isn't a vegetable. I mean, people always ask that question, or they ask, oh, well, if you're coming over to our house, can we make you a dish with fish in it? And we're like, well, no, because fish isn't a vegetable.
Fish do not grow on trees.
No.
I'm sorry, they just don't. And I don't know, who do we blame for this? The Catholic Church?
That's probably part of it.
I heard this thing that they actually had stock in some fishery and needed to make sure that, the fish sold well so they could make some money. But I don't know if that's true or not.
Right. But at any rate, people say, oh, well, during Lent, you're not supposed to eat meat on Fridays, but you can eat fish. Yeah. Well, to me, fish is meat,
But anyhow, I think, our thoughts about this are really actually summed up really well by this article I heard about from vegan.com and from An Animal Friendly Life. Eric was nice enough to send me a little link to this, and it was great because it's basically a rant, a one-page editorial rant about why fish is not a vegetable. And it was great to see.
It was hilarious, yeah.
Somebody finally go and do that.
Exactly.
So we'll have a link to that article just below the podcast here. So if you want to, or just above the podcast actually. So if you want to take a peek at that, you can find it there, just at the entry for this podcast.
Right. But we also want to say that one of the reasons that it is so annoying is because there are some people who call themselves vegetarians and they say, oh, but I eat fish. and the author of the article, and we'd like to say that if you're going to eat fish, please do not call yourself a vegetarian.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be like, the vegetarian cops here or anything. There's no fun in being the vegan police or vegetarian police.
Right, and we admire the fact that you don't eat other animals.
Yeah, that's always good, right? Any step away from consuming more animals is a good step. But please, for the love of God, why call yourself a vegan or a vegetarian if you aren't?
Right. I mean, you can call yourself something else. They have this new word, the flexitarian or something.
Flexitarian.
Or it leaves pescetarian because you eat fish.
Flexitarian is a spinelessitarian. No gut.
True.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well.
I don't know. What is a flexitarian? Is it someone who just eats at holidays and stuff?
I think so, occasionally.
Just to avoid the social stigma?
I don't know.
Well, anyhow, whatever it might be. No, anybody who's making a step away from animal products, I mean, we applaud that.
Exactly. But for those of us out there who don't eat fish or don't eat meat or don't eat dairy or eggs, that we'd like to keep the categories like they should be.
Otherwise, it gets really complicated. You've got people who think that vegans eat milk or drink milk.
Occasionally we eat cheese.
Occasionally we eat cheese. Yeah.
So.
But anyway, I think it's important to keep the categories intact because otherwise, what do they mean? They come to mean nothing. And being a vegan or being a vegetarian, the aspect of that is a rejection of what's wrong with all of this stuff goes away if it doesn't mean much.
Right. It gets completely watered down.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh, well, you can cheat and eat things that you say you don't eat. Well, so there are a lot of us out there who don't think like that. So absolutely.
And speaking of animals and things of that nature, I heard this news report today on animalvoices.ca about how there are scientists who are working on creating tissue cultures in the lab to create essentially chickenless chicken. So you'd have a tissue culture growing in the lab, and you could just harvest the meat out of a tissue culture rather than going to all the trouble of raising a chicken and killing the chicken and all of that. And this is being touted as something that would generally be good for animals and also good for consumers because you could better control the nutrient content of it. So I found myself today while I was listening to Animal Voices out there with my headphones on cutting the grass like a suburbanite that I am not. I was thinking, man, would I eat that? Would you eat that?
It just sounds gross.
Oh, it does sound gross.
For one thing. But no, I don't think I'd eat it.
I wouldn't eat it.
We have plant matter to eat and tofu and other, things if you really want to substitute for meat, and it works just fine.
Yeah, and plus it's animal derived. So in any case, even if it weren't actually killing any animals, I would still have a problem with the fact that it uses animals in a way that I object to.
Right. Plus, I'm always wary of things that come out of a laboratory anyway, but...
yeah, that's a good policy to have.
Yeah.
All right, well, enough about fish and chicken and all that. But what we will do now is kind of move into a quick little music break, let you get over listening to our voices for the last 9 minutes and 18 seconds. And maybe Jenna could talk a little bit about this song.
Right, because I like this song. It's Bohemian Like You. And it has some vegan lyrics.
Yeah, you gotta listen carefully.
You have to listen carefully because it's for the first about 50 times that I listened to this song, I never caught the vegan lyrics.
Yeah, me neither. But then one day I was doing the dishes and I heard it, and it just kind of grabbed me.
Right, so the Dandy Warhols,
yep.
Bohemian Like You.
You got a great car, yeah, what's wrong with it today? I used to have one too, maybe you'll come and have a look. I really love your hairdo, yeah. I'm glad you like mine too, see we're looking pretty cool, get ya. So what do you do? Oh yeah, I wait tables too. No, I haven't heard your band, cause you guys are pretty new. But if you dig, I'm vegan food. Welcome over to my work, I'll have a cook you something that you really love. Cause I like you, yeah I like you. And I'm feeling so bohemian like you. Yeah I like you, yeah I like you. And I feel, wow, woo! Wait, who's that guy? Just hanging at your pad. He's looking kinda raw. Yeah, you broke up, that's too bad. I guess it's fair if he always pays a rent and he doesn't get mad about sleeping on the couch when I'm there. Cause I like you, yeah I like you. And I feel like so bohemian like you. Yeah I like you, yeah I like you. And I feel, wow, woo! I'm getting wise and I'm feeling so bohemian like you. It's you that I want, so please. Just a casual, easy thing. It is for me. And I like you, yeah I like you. And I like you, 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 I like you. And I feel, wow, woo!
Welcome back to Vegan Freak Radio. I hope you liked that little song there.
Did you catch the vegan lyrics?
Where were they?
Now. Read them out.
Okay,
Did
good.
you catch them? Okay.
Hope you caught the vegan lyrics. They're in there, but there aren't that many.
No.
There are other songs that are way more vegan.
Yeah, but this one digs on vegan food, so that's good.
Digging on vegan food's always good.
Mm-hmm.
Next week we'll play some Dead Press for you.
All right.
I like them.
Yeah, it's a good song.
I do like that song. But so one thing I wanted to talk about also this week was the whole question of spirituality and veganism. I don't want to offend people, right? Because I know people are vegan for all different kinds of reasons, and I think a lot of those reasons are really quite valid. But on the other hand, I sometimes get a little tired of seeing all of these kinds of spiritual appeals for veganism. You know, that it's good for your karma, and it's good for the world peace, and it's good for all of these different things. And I think why I get tired of that is because there are a lot of vegans out there who could care less about spirituality. Right,
or not necessarily care less about it, but don't find veganism through spirituality.
Yeah, I mean, aren't there atheist vegans?
Sure, of course.
I mean, you could believe that there's absolutely nothing in the universe and still be a vegan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens is that sometimes that scares away vegans who have a more kind of logical approach to veganism.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that compassion can come from a lot of different places, and that for me, compassion just came from learning about other animals and knowing what they go through, and recognizing the fact that they're a lot like humans, and treating them the same as I treat other human beings, and that's where my compassion came from. And if your compassion comes from your spirituality, great. But I think it does show up in a lot more places than veganism through other means.
I absolutely agree. I mean, I would never want to stop anyone from using veganism as an expression of their creativity and of their spirituality. I think that's a wonderful thing, actually. And I think that people need to be free to express themselves and their spirituality as they need to. However, I just see it repeated so often in the vegan, in literature, in magazines, in things I read, and I just sometimes get tired of it. I mean, I get tired of the kind of fetishization of Eastern perspectives on religion. I get tired of, this Om stuff. I get tired of chakras. I get tired of all that stuff because it just doesn't do much for me. I mean, I think there's a real logic to veganism, which is that if you want to decrease suffering to the greatest extent possible, you just simply don't eat animals, because that helps to decrease suffering to the greatest extent possible.
Right.
So,
agree.
I don't know. I don't want to go off too far on it. I just sometimes get a little fed up with it. And I think poor Jenna probably gets tired of hearing me rant and rave about it.
Not necessarily. Just, we've been reading some magazines lately that have been pretty heavy on that. And that don't necessarily speak to vegans like us. And I think mostly the message we want to say is that if you're out there considering veganism and that kind of stuff turns you off, that there are other avenues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think really any of those avenues are valid.
Of course.
I really don't want anyone out there who is a spiritual vegan to feel like I'm kind of busting on them, because I'm not. It's just that I have a different approach to it, and I think we need to recognize a variety of approaches in order to move into veganism.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, the next person we're going to talk about definitely does not have a spiritual approach to just about... He has a spiritual approach to nothing. And we promised last week that we would play some clips from our quick time here with our columnist at our website, veganfreak.com, who does the advice column. His name is the Vulgar Vegan, or when he was here, we were calling him Dan Noodles.
It stems from a Chinese cookbook that we had that had a recipe called Dan Noodles, but that's a long story.
Well, his name's Dan,
right.
So we were calling him Dan Noodles all week, and we call his girlfriend J Steak too. So if you're listening out there, J Steak, hey, what up? But anyway, yeah. So we got a couple interviews here with Dan Noodles. We had to edit them down because parts of it were really quite disgusting.
Yeah.
And so we talked for about a good 25 or 30 minutes. And what do we have here for you? We have basically 2.5 minute clips.
That's about all we could put on there.
Yeah.
And there are still some vulgarities in these too, but not as bad.
Not quite as bad.
No.
So we're going to play for you a couple little clips. A few things you need to know about the Vulgar Vegan in order to make sense of these clips. Dan Noodles, or the Vulgar Vegan, or whatever, is the columnist for our site. So please go ask him sex, love, whatever questions if you'd like. Go run to the site and ask, and you will get pretty interesting answers. Mm-hmm. But one thing you need to know also is that he works for Liz Lovely Cookie Company in Vermont, mm-hmm. Which produces, in my opinion, some of the best vegan cookies anywhere.
They're so good. And we talked about this last week, but I have to repeat. Oh, and if you can't buy them locally, you can buy them through Cosmos Vegan Shop.
True. And can you believe we're not even getting paid to plug this? We are shameless media whores. We are completely shameless.
No,
we plug.
They're cool vegans, so we're trying to support all the vegans we can.
I really think you got to keep it in the vegan community.
Yeah,
if you got a choice,
as possible.
Hire vegans, buy from vegans.
Yeah.
Keep it in the vegan family. But anyway, speaking of keep it in the vegan family, Dan works at Liz Lovely. He is an artisan baker. So he makes cookies, and that might help you understand some of this stuff coming up. So we'll play the first clip for you here and get that rolling, and I hope you enjoy it. Is it true that you're a junk food vegan?
Liz's husband, Dan, says that I'm a junk food vegan. Mm-hmm. He should have seen me eat in college.
Yeah, I did in college.
Because, that was the height of me being a junk food vegan. Not as much anymore. I don't eat as many cookies as people probably suspect working there, but I mostly save them up so that when the economy collapses, I'll have something to barter with, aside from cigarettes and anal sex, So, Yeah, good cookies. I don't know what I was saying.
Good cookies. No, it's all good. It's all good.
No, I eat much better now.
That's good to hear.
I had kale the other weekend. That was
You
the
had
first
kale?
time.
Wow, something green.
Yeah, I was visiting my girlfriend's family in Ithaca, and we went to the farmer's market, and she got some kale from actually this place called Veganics that does, it's like veganism and organics, I guess, combined. And the lady uses no bone meal, no like anything.
No manure or anything?
No, anything like
Wow.
that in the production of the food.
That's
So
really hard to find. So
it was incredible. Yeah, and it was good. I was surprised. I thought I wasn't going to like it, but eating healthy is not as bad as I once thought.
Not at all. Actually, I found just switching to brown rice was a really important thing for me.
I'm a starch guy, though. I hate vegetables for the most part, you know? I mean, some I really like a lot, but
The Vulgar Vegan.
fruit and things like that sometimes, but I'm a potatoes and potatoes kind of guy.
So I can't believe the Vulgar Vegan hates vegetables. The Vulgar Vegan who hates vegetables.
Some of them are okay. It's just, you know, I don't walk around with a bag of mini carrots and, you know, munch on celery with peanut butter or something.
And your girlfriend recently became vegan, correct?
She did, yeah.
Did you put her through the special initiation, teach her the handshake?
Not yet. There's that official ceremony we're going to do later, I guess, where we...
It's kind of like joining the Masons, you know?
It's a lot like joining the Masons.
Absolutely.
Except you don't get, like, the neat little tiny sticker in your car window that gives you access to, you know, different driving routes and keeps you from getting pulled over and stuff.
Yeah, I think we should institute a global vegan conspiracy.
That'd be good.
So there's our first clip of the Vulgar Vegan, and I agree we do need to start a global vegan conspiracy.
Definitely. I think we could do some vegan colonies places.
Yeah, I've heard that in Bombay there are actually these apartment complexes going up in which you are not allowed to cook meat or have meat or do anything with meat because people are so offended by the smell.
I think that's awesome.
I think it's pretty cool too.
We should do that here in the United States. We could do it. It'd have to be probably in places like Portland or Santa Cruz, California, or somewhere like that.
I was going to say, isn't Portland a vegan colony anyway?
Yeah, pretty much.
Ithaca?
Yeah, it's getting there.
Ithaca
It's more vegetarian than vegan.
Yeah, but you go to the Moosewood and they have fish on the menu.
I know. And they tout themselves as That's just another problem. They tout themselves as a vegetarian restaurant, and we love the Moosewood, and we've got some really good meals there, but you're not vegetarian if you serve fish.
But we've gotten some really shitty meals there too.
True.
In all truth. Because we used to live in Ithaca.
Yes.
But anyhow, so we need to start a global vegan conspiracy, and I think Bombay is the center of is where it's going to start.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So in the next clip, the Vulgar Vegan, Dan Noodles, whatever you want to call him, talks about a little bit more about the column on the site. Talks about the first question that he answered from one of our anonymous readers out there, and we'll just get right into that clip now. What about your column on the website this week? What question did you answer this week?
Question I answered this week was about whether or not it's wrong for someone to not want to date meat eaters. Someone who's vegan.
In a nutshell, what do you think?
It's not wrong to want that. But it kind of... I mean, you can read the column, but basically what I said is that it kind of depends.
It kind of depends.
On the PVDP, potential vegan dating pool in your area. And how much you want to limit that. That, you know, ultimately, even people who eat meat can be... If they're similar enough to you, the chances are your values are probably pretty similar, and if that's the case, then it's not such a leap that they might become vegan as well, because they have sort of the same core values that make you do a lot of the things that you do. So maybe not rule it out completely, but it depends.
I don't think I could be with a non-vegan.
Me either.
Yeah. In the long term, I don't think it's viable.
I think it just would create so many fights.
No, it absolutely would not last in the long term.
And it kind of grosses me out to have meat even prepared in the house. And we had Thanksgiving here last year.
Yeah.
And my mom came in and prepared it, and it was disgusting.
I think dating vegetarians is probably a little marginally easier. I don't know how much. I mean, honestly.
I think it'd be pretty easy.
Well, I guess it depends on your personal take on how repulsive you find dairy as opposed to meat, you know. So it depends. But I don't know.
Well, run to the site, veganfreak.com, check out his column, see if you agree with his advice, and if you don't, You can tell him you think he's a fool. He can take it. He's a tough guy. He's got thick skin.
I'll tell you to fuck yourself.
He tells me that all the time.
Because that's what I do in an advice column.
Okay, so that was the other clip from the Vulgar Vegan, or Dan Noodles, or whatever you want to call him. And we hope you'll come to our site and ask him some questions.
Yeah, ask him questions about sex, love, romance, relationships, anything vegan related.
Yeah, anything that really floats your boat. I mean, his whole thing is about answering questions about relationships. And not everything he does is vulgar.
Sure.
And between us, he's also one of the sweetest guys out there. He acts all tough, and he acts like he's this vulgar, tough guy and all this, but he likes romantic comedies. So.
Yeah, and he'll freely admit that, though.
He will. He's a sweet guy, though, despite the Vulgar Vegan label. We got two things we're going to close the show with, because we're done, man. We're all beat. We're actually making all kinds of mistakes here. But we got two things we'll close the show with for fun. The first thing is that we had some mac and yeast today, you know, where you make the sauce with, supposed to be like a kind of cheese sauce. You use a lot of yeast. And just final note for you here, eating a lot of nutritional yeast makes your pee really bright yellow.
Yep, all those good B vitamins.
All those good B vitamins. And we're going to close the show with something that's a little embarrassing but kind of funny, and that's 6 seconds of me beatboxing.
Because I live with a human beatbox.
You do indeed. Catch you later.
Feeling the feel, I ain't stealing, I'm taking. I got a non-dairy creamer in my jeans. I'm happy to see you, if you know what I mean. Let's get it on, 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 let's get it on. So I hope you dig this vibe I'm sending, especially if the world is ending. The future's uncertain, and the end is always near. The ice age is coming, and I have no beer. Yo, mama, I'm a soft machine. That I'm a soft machine. I'm a soft machine. I'm a fuzzy.